Welcome to the Power of Design podcast. My name is Jack Osa. I'm an architect, born and raised in Colombia, South America. Years ago, I migrated to the United States to follow my dreams. And today, I'm the founder and principal of Osa Studio, a multidisciplinary architectural design firm in Charlotte, North Carolina. In this podcast, we talk about design, business, creativity, and the inspiration we need to create an exciting and powerful built environment. In today's episode of the Power of Design podcast, I'm having a great conversation with Coach Matt Drinkhahn. Matt's mission is to push people to be the best they can be and to own that we were all made with limitless potential. I had a lot of fun recording this podcast. Matt has been coaching high-performance individuals and teams for more than 8 years, and he is full of engaging stories and wisdom. If you're interested in personal development like me, you will love this episode. This is my conversation with Matt. Matt, welcome to the Power of Design podcast. How are you today?
Absolutely amazing, Jack. Thank you very much for the invitation. I woke up this morning excited for a number of reasons.
Awesome.
I get to play chess with my daughter Lily this morning. That was awesome. Get to go and do coaching calls all day for a living. So that's grateful. And then I saw on there that I get to go and see Jack at the end of my day. After I spend all this mental energy, I get to go and be interviewed and talk about life stuff, business, and just talk to you. And I always get a little bit of energy when I'm talking to you. So I'm pretty excited right now.
Man, that's amazing. You're the first guest who reads my mind. So I was going to ask you about your day. So I'm glad this is going well. I don't have to ask. You know what's coming.
Oh, yeah. The day was absolutely amazing today. And I want to start by saying I'm incredibly grateful for today because when I started today, I woke up. I'm alive.
That's right.
I'm healthy.
Yeah.
And I think back to 6 years ago when literally at this time, this date 6 years ago, I was in a wheelchair.
Wow.
And I couldn't get up. I couldn't go play golf. I couldn't run. I couldn't pick up my daughter. I couldn't cook dinner for my wife. I couldn't get upstairs. I was literally confined to the downstairs of my home 6 years ago. And now here we are, I wake up today. I am healthy. My family's healthy. I'm coaching a couple soccer teams volunteer-wise, and it's fantastic.
Man, that's amazing. You know, the power of contrast and perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I try to use a lot because one, I've heard, I don't know if it's true or not, that about 150,000 people die every single day.
Mm.
So the fact that today you're not one of those, you won the lottery today.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a huge reason to celebrate. And then when you're comparing or having a contrast with, you know, your past and different situations, you're like, oh my God, I'm in a really good place.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sometimes it's just that easy when people are maybe not, they're focusing on something that is happening right now that is not very, you know, positive, or they're not very happy about it.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of bringing them back to, well, compare this against any other. You could be in a different place.
Yeah, there's so many things that we could dwell on that are challenging for all of us. We all have our own stuff.
Yeah.
And every day is a renewed chance to, I'd say like that movie of Bill Murray, Groundhog's Day. Mm-hmm. Wake up every day, grateful to be alive. And that's a start. And here we are. Yeah.
And I like to ask about the day because, you know, when people say people overestimate what they can do in 1 year, they underestimate what they can do in 1 day.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the little incremental pieces of progress that you stack together that they eventually you see a mountain, you're like, oh my God, where did that come from?
I want to throw this in there just because we're talking about progress that we can make in a day. We may not realize it sometimes. And I happen to bring with me, as I bring with me everywhere, constantly clad with a journal. And the way I wake up every day first is I write down my 3 big wins from yesterday. And I started today with Number one, that Lucy and I made chocolate muffins together yesterday.
Nice.
And that may seem small, it may seem minute to some, and I'm incredibly grateful to celebrate some type of family win every day. It wasn't always like that. It used to be, I have a big confession to make. I am a recovering workaholic. And it used not to be, that was my big win for the day. But now I like to start every day with a big win of here's a family win.
Yeah.
Here's a business win. And here's a win for me, a personal one just for me. So that's the frame to start the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, you may have had a question there a minute ago, or I don't know where we're going right now.
That's fine.
I tend to go off on random tangents, if you'll find that out. So,
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Thank you for your patience, everybody.
So I'd like to learn a little bit about your history. How did you get to where you are today? But I'm most interested about when did you decide or realize or said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna be a coach. I think I have what it takes to help others.
Well, so let's break that down. A couple things of how we got here, how we grew up, and then when we made that conscious decision to be a coach.
Yeah.
And we'll start with how we grew up. I grew up in a military family. My dad was a pilot for the Air Force. My mom was a high school English teacher. And when they met, and then they had me, we went on this military family lifestyle journey where we moved 17 times in 21 years.
Wow.
So I've lived all over the United States in every type of environment. I've lived in houses, apartments, trailers, on base, off in the rural area in a high-rise building. So I've kind of experienced all of that. And as a result of that, there were some real high highs and some real low lows throughout all that. But through all that, I got the chance to experience just America and the culture around us and got to see all these different kinds of people, all these different places. So that was the background. Now, my mom, sweetest, softest, kindest person. She walks into a room, talks to anybody, piece of cake.
Yeah.
My dad, military, very regimented, structured, systematic. He was always, since I can remember at least, he was always leading something. He worked from sunup to sundown every day, all day, since I can remember. And just growing up in a hardworking where you're challenged to be your best on a consistent basis. I was given, and I'll share this. I lucked out. I hit the lottery. That I had parents that loved me and supported me just by saying you can do it. So I'll let that sink in. And that was a major plus in my childhood. I remember one time coming home from 6th grade from getting into a fight. The only fight I ever got into in school where the principal got involved. I came home from school and I was crying because there was this kid that was picking on me, and I hit him, and it hurt him. And I went home crying because I hurt someone. And my mom was there to say, it's going to be okay. And I came out of that being okay. But ultimately, I remember the times where my parents, they lifted me up.
Yeah.
So that was a major upbringing to me, is having that, I'd say, an advantage of having that self-esteem. So where that came from, it came from just being really fortunate and having parents that loved me. And so that was where we started.
That's awesome.
Yeah, my father was a highly competitive professional athlete before he got into the military. He was drafted to play Major League Baseball, and he was actually, he went to Vietnam right after that and got injured, never pitched again. But he was highly competitive, so he taught me sports. And for your listeners out there, I also am fairly tall, so I always grew up playing basketball and soccer and now play golf. So grew up in that competitive environment where I had nurturing parents, supportive parents, and always focused on grades. I'd say girls at some point, but let's be real. The girls didn't really start to like me until much later, and now one in particular that I married and I'm in love with very much. Hi, Julie. But I'd say that most important thing is that I had supportive parents. We moved a bunch, and I had to learn how to make new friends quickly whenever we came somewhere new. All right, so that's a little bit about how we grew up. We went to college in the South. We went there for psychology and biology to be a doctor. And after 2 weeks of college, we decided we're not going to be a doctor. No, we're not going to do that. Got out of college, and I started my very first job, which was selling Cutco knives. So if you've never heard of Cutco, quite possibly the best training program for young people, young professionals I've ever seen. I learned confidence, learned how to present. I learned face-to-face, one-on-one consumer interaction, learned how to prospect, learned how to run my own schedule.
Things that should teach to children in elementary school.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, don't get me started on this. Yes. We're talking about coaching. If you want to go like 10,000 feet, and what I do now in coaching, what you just described is maybe a future vision or mission I haven't discovered yet, but something for the world is how we coach and develop our kids at a younger age. But I'm going to come back to now for the moment.
Keep going.
And talk about that first time that I realized the uncapped potential of commission sales. And that was exciting because I came from an environment that was very traditional in terms of get a job, stay there for 30 years, retire. And when I found Cutco and I learned all these unlimited ways of thinking, that was the truest gift. And I still have many great friends from that organization.
Yes.
So that was the start. And then we went, after 6 years there, we tried, my father died. That was an impactful time in life. We tried professional golf for 30 months and we fell flat on our face. We did not become the next Tiger Woods. And after 30 months of missing cut after cut after cut. And when I say missing cuts, let's be real, I didn't even make the tournaments. I went for a lot of Monday qualifiers and missed it. So for those of out there who are talking about being a professional golfer, I was 0 for 24 in attempting to play professional golf tournaments in about 30 months. So that was very challenging. We went back to corporate America for a 3-year stint in a company called Clearwire, where I started a direct sales team. We did that for 3 years, started the direct sales team in Atlanta, and then was promoted to go and run as a GM in Nashville and open the Boston and Providence office. Still have great relationships with many of those people. And then we left that to come down here to the South, to Charlotte, where we are now, with Time Warner Cable Business Class. And that was also B2B or a business environment, and built a sales team here. Loved it. Love some of those people to this day. Decided corporate politics and corporate world wasn't for me anymore. I needed to get out and do what I do now, which is coaching, full circle, professional business coaching.
Yep.
So how do we get here? Well, let me give you a little bit of background, not to be braggadocious, to give just to fill in the viewers of here might be some qualifications of being a business coach.
Sure.
So things I've experienced, I've interviewed 10,000 people face-to-face. I've had 2,000 people report to me in a sales capacity. I've had an extra 500 people report to me in either a general manager or president of company type capacity. I've done every aspect from the advertising, hiring, firing, training, selling, working with a lot of team meetings and one-on-one coaching. And that is just when I got to coaching. And I got to coaching 8 years ago when I was 36, right? So we got to coaching, and now, Jack, this is the most amazing thing. Now I have the privilege and the honor, and I take very seriously, of helping to guide and shape the minds of high-level leaders, CEOs, C-level players, people who are in startup companies. Everyone that I coach, it is my sincerest honor to help them overcome their greatest challenges and help them exceed their goals and expectations. And that's what I do now for a living.
So when did you realize that, okay, I have what it takes to do this? Because I think there is a lot of, I don't know how to describe it. When you said, okay, you know what? I can do this. I have what it takes. I know I have something you don't have, and I know I can show you what it is. What was that moment, or was it gradual when you got to that point?
Great question. There was an exact moment that I recall vividly that I decided that I've got to get into this exactly, into business coaching. And that moment was when I made a sale and I was not allowed to keep the sale because of some corporate politics. That's nothing against the people I used to work with at my former job. They were following orders, and people follow orders in company. And at that moment, I decided that this wasn't for me because I'm at the highest level of management. I'm not able to make any real decisions. I have to enforce them. So I wanted to go and work for myself and do it in a way that empowers me to do this. And this is the thing I would add or offer to all listeners. Figure out what your greatest strengths are and then maximize those. And I have a superpower.
Yes.
My superpower is a unrelenting lack of fearing other people's opinions. So I don't really care what other people think. And as a result of that, I'm able to go out and try new things and take whatever comes, take the feedback that comes and use that to learn.
Yes.
As opposed to use that to go and, beat myself up. And that's back to where I mentioned I had strong self-esteem instilled in me from my parents. Right?
Do you think that you care less than others or you care zero?
Less than others and enough. So I'm not a complete cold machine. I
Yes.
do care.
Yeah.
It genuinely matters to me. The people that I love, that are closest to me in my life, it matters to me what they think. That
Yes.
circle is so
Sure.
small that if it's someone I don't know, if it's a random social media person,
Yeah.
or if it's a prospect that says no to me that
Yeah.
I'm not going to see again, then that's okay. I'm okay with that. They have their stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
And I have enough empathy now to be able to let them take that. I don't need to break them down. I'm going to be okay. So that's kind of the way I view criticism or feedback or other people's opinions, is that if you're really close to like your opinion, it matters to me.
Sure.
Right? Because we've developed a relationship and it matters. But if it's someone that I haven't gotten to know that well yet, it doesn't really matter. So I'm willing to offer real, direct feedback. And some people are open to that, some aren't.
Yeah. And that's huge because, the relationship building is very important. As you said, sometimes somebody says something to you, but when you hear it from another person, the same message is different. So I think the messenger is more important than the message.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now you say that, I miss my father more than anything. He passed away 17 years ago, and he was wise. He had a lot of great advice for me. And at the age of 28, when he passed, I knew that he was smart. I knew that he had great experience, and I still couldn't hear it sometimes because I was still into my own stuff.
Sure.
Right? So it's hard to hear some people say something, a parent, a boss, a teammate, a spouse. It can be hard to hear that sometimes, and all it takes is maybe an outside party saying it. And that's another advantage of coaching where it comes in, is that I can say things that you might already know, but to reaffirm it and validate it might give you that extra boost of, you know what? I know I can do it now. That is the right thing. I'm going to do it. That can be all the advantage that someone needs.
Yeah. Do you think that superpower of not, caring too much about others think is what people see in you so they trust you, or what else do they see in you? How do you reflect back to potential clients so you can earn their trust?
Great question. Why people trust me? Well, I think we'd have to ask them to be certain, but my hunch is that they trust me because I look them directly in the eye. I actively listen. I repeat back the things I'm hearing to make sure I'm understanding it from their frame.
Yeah.
Right? And I try to be real with them.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's such a lost art out there, is just being real and keeping it real with people.
Oh my
Most
God.
people. Oh
Man,
my goodness.
How I see the typical business setting is a desert. Everybody's thirsty. Everybody's thirsty for truth, authenticity, because it's not there. And I think a huge part of that, it's been, social media, internet. It's so easy to pretend to be somebody else that it became the norm, right? Putting all these images or these messages about a life that's not your life. That's the life you want to project. That when you meet or interact with somebody who's truthful to themselves, it's like drinking, a cold water. So they're like, oh my God, this is so refreshing. I need some of this. And they want some of that. So that's how can I visualize what happens in the business world, because it's so easy to realize when you're just like somebody else, you're repeating these things, you're not being, who you really are. So it's very easy to separate. And I don't think this is wrong. I just think it's sad that we gotten to that point where we just by default become somebody who we're not. To me, that's one of the biggest problems in today's world. People are not living their lives. They're living somebody else's life.
I love it. It brings in a great opportunity for me to bring Bob Ross into the conversation.
Yes.
For those who might be able to see this, I have a stuffed plush doll who's about 8 inches tall, Bob Ross. And it was given to me by a client a couple of years ago, and I take it everywhere with me. And authentically, we make a lot of happy little accidents, and I laugh at myself a lot. And I think that people find that when you're authentically, genuinely able to laugh at yourself,
yes,
and not take it too serious. Like, don't get me wrong, Jack. I take my success and my client's success incredibly serious.
Right.
Like, obsessed with it. And at the same time, I don't take life too serious because, what is it? It's a happy little accident. I'm going to go and I'm going to mess up every single day. I'm going to get bruised elbows and knees, and I'm going to be better as a result of every one of those.
Yeah.
Right? I remember the very first time I ever went to a coaching appointment. We have this assessment test that we offer our prospective clients, and it's called the Mind Scan. And credible, Nobel Prize nominated research, Dr. Robert S. Hartman. And I've been presenting this to a vice president of operations of a major company, sitting down and reviewing his assessment with him. And I realized after about 5 minutes of reviewing his assessment that I was reviewing the sample graph assessment. So I'm telling him, this is you. And it's the freaking sample graph. Awesome. Flip the page, it's his real assessment. And I said, oh my God. Oh yeah, Brian, I made a mistake here. This is not really you.
Well, does it mean you are the sample?
Yes.
He made it.
Yeah, and I've done a bunch of those. I was speaking at an IRIM conference or like a luncheon like a couple of years ago. My friend Elizabeth invited me to speak, and I'm there, and there's 125 people in the room. I'm quirky. I remember weird things. I'm 2 minutes and 43 seconds into this talk, and I have a deer in headlights moment. And any professional speaker, you get up on stage and you have a deer in headlights moment. You're like, holy poop. Yeah. What's going to happen right now? I've totally forgot what I was going to say. And instead of getting freaked out and nervous about it, I actually paused in the moment, and I said to myself, man, so this is what it feels like. To forget what you're going to say in a speech.
That's right.
And I smiled in the audience after about 2 or 3 seconds. I smiled at the audience. It felt like an eternity, but I smiled, and I said, man, so this is what it's like to forget what to say. Will you forgive me, everyone? Raise your hand if you're going to forgive me. And everyone kind of smiled, laughed, and raised their hand. And then we went on with the speech, and it was a really good speech. So just being willing to accept that you're going to make mistakes and F things up. That's part of being authentic and genuine, not trying to be perfect all the time.
So that brings to my mind, I'm reading a book called 90 Seconds to the Life You Love, and it's all about emotions. So, it's basically about the 8 negative emotions we feel, and our life theme is how do we avoid those emotions? That's all we do, avoiding the emotions. So part of the book talks about, okay, if you really think about it, you can only really feel an emotion for real, a negative emotion, for 90 seconds. So embrace the 90 seconds. It's going to be there. And the thing is that, emotions is a connection of your mind and also physical, because you feel it physical. If it's more than 90 seconds, it's because you're bringing it back, because your mind is going there, is thinking about it again, you're feeling bad about it, and then it goes back to your body. So, I like what you said, because one of the things that I'm learning about the book is when you feel a negative emotion, embrace it. It's you. Mm-hmm. You cannot deny yourself. I feel horrible. I feel this thing in my stomach. Yeah, that's what I'm feeling right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm feeling like this because of this, but I'm not going to fight it. So it's all about letting the emotion pass through you. Mm-hmm. Which is something we don't typically do. We feel bad. We want to get out of there as soon as possible to protect ourselves from feeling like that. But it's not going to kill us.
You bring up probably one of the biggest challenges that I see in leaders when coaching is allowing their people to actually feel that negative emotion. I remember, I'll even say the date, November 18th, I was with my emotional intelligence coach, Jim Detmer, who wrote a book, 15 Conscious Commitments Leaders Make, and thinking about the process for dealing with emotions. Well, first, you have to acknowledge that the emotion is there. And that's step one.
Name it. That's a big one.
Acknowledge it by naming it. And so many people don't even allow it in. They see it and they say, no, I can't have this. I can't feel this. They try to block it or push it out.
Yes.
I go the other direction. I say, acknowledge it. Accept it. Feel it. Appreciate it. And then let it go. Like you said, in 90 seconds. So go through that process of acknowledge, accept, appreciate, breathe, and let it go. And any type of negative emotion, when dealt with in that way, can be used, in my opinion, to your advantage.
100%.
And that's where I want to get to, like, the genesis of my coaching practice, and where that's the primary question I want to ask myself in nearly every situation is, how might we learn to use this situation to our advantage? And especially like if it's a negative emotion, fear, sadness, any emotion that you feel, how might you turn this and view this, if you have a strong faith, view this as a gift from God that may serve you, view this as something you can use to your advantage. Like when I'm have a no sale from a prospect, I get beat down in some type of rejection. My kids are upset because they didn't do well in the soccer game. Any type of situation that might cause what would be termed a negative emotion, how might I use this to my advantage? Well, first, I can learn from it.
Yeah.
Right. Second, I can go back and replay it in my mind and ask, how might I have done that differently? How might I have overreacted, overresponded to that situation? But taking any situation and replaying it in our mind, that can be powerful. The first place I heard this from a professional of who was very well known was on a Finding Mastery podcast with Michael Gervais. He interviewed Mr. Hurley, the man who started that company, Hurley. And Mr. Hurley went through in great detail how at the end of his business day, he would go back and look at his conversations in the day, and he would replay them and ask questions around how it went, how might he have done it differently. Yeah. And I asked that about my emotions, how I showed up. If I let it slip like a human and I yell at a child, my child, not the kids on my soccer team, but my kid. Yeah. If that happens sometimes. Or if I get upset and frustrated with a client, or if I am being too hard on myself and being very self-critical through a very judgmental lens, then how might I go back and pause, go through that cycle of acknowledge, I feel this way, accept it, appreciate it, let it go, and how can I use that to my advantage?
So I was going to ask you about how do you coach? What's your method? How do you do it? And things like that. But instead, I'm gonna ask you this question. So, Matt, I'm really want to become the best version of myself and live an amazing life. How do I do that?
Great question. So let's start with, we're going to go deep here for a moment. So let's start with best version of myself. Can you elaborate on what that means to you? Best version of myself.
That's a great question.
That would be how I would start the conversation, because best version of yourself for you and me and for anyone is probably a little bit different. Mm-hmm. So the first step would be to get hyper clear.
So I will answer two ways. One is I have an answer which I will think is 99% the answer, but thinking that I know who I am. I'm a collection of, my history, my experience, some other people messaging, things that have gotten into my brain. Mm-hmm. So I might be just saying things that are not who I really am. Mm-hmm. And mm-hmm. the second question will be, well, what do you think it's a best version of somebody? So my answer will be, I want to remove two constraints from my current situation as a person, father of 3 children, and a adult human living life. One will be I wanna do whatever I want with my time. So I make the decisions what I do with my time. And 2, I don't have the limitations of money. So money is not an issue for anything. It's good or bad, or we want to do something, let's do it or not do it, but it's not something to think about. It's just irrelevant in my day-to-day living. So that's my answer. But I'm telling you that answer, I have 1% doubt. So I like to hear your perspective of what you think is a best version of somebody, because I'm not 100% in there.
Okay, we're going to come back to you in a moment here.
Yeah.
Let's first start with when I think of the best version of myself. I think we have some things in common. The best version of myself first is, and most importantly, is a father whose kids, in their own internal mind, they say this: Daddy loves me, and I can do this. The best version of myself is a father who empowers his kids to have that on their autopilot. It's playing on the record of their mind all the time. All right, so I want that to be their inner voice, and I want to teach them that.
Okay.
That's the best version of me as a dad.
Okay, but can I ask you something?
Yeah, certainly.
So your best version of yourself is somebody else's perception of you.
My best version of me is the father that helps and empowers his children to think that.
Right, so their perception.
So them thinking that helps me feel like that's the best version of me. So yes is the answer to that.
Okay, but you have no control over their perception of you.
I do not. What I do have control over are the consistent actions I can take that lead to their strong self-esteem.
So there is some work we can do toward that. But at the end of the day, it's not full control.
That's right.
They can do whatever they want.
If the point is the best version of ourselves is to achieve this or to be this, I can go in that direction because I have that for me.
Yes.
So there is a best version of me that has my own goals. So I'm going to go really wide here.
Yeah.
I've got some buckets. One bucket of mine is being a dad. Another bucket is being a husband. Another bucket is being a business coach. Another bucket is being a human. And another bucket is just me, old selfish me.
Okay.
All right. So the best version of me for me is very aligned with what you said. I can do what I want when I want. And I'm living 100% to my values. That's the best version of me.
Yes. And why?
Why that's so important to me?
No, why is that the best version?
Well, why it's so important to me, probably the most important question. Why does all this even matter? I want to live up to a standard that would make my father proud. That was my very first thought.
Yeah.
I want to live up to what the expectations are for my family. My dad specifically, and the integrity that my mom taught me. What matters to me most and why it's so important today is I genuinely want to be that best dad for them, husband for Julie, human for the world, right?
Yes.
Because I think of it like this, that there are reserve tanks of positive energy, emotion, love, empathy. All that is in here because of the strong inner. And I feel it is my life's mission, my vision, to help the world get more of this. So that's why it comes out in the form of business coaching. I mean, we're helping people get results and overcome challenges. And we're doing that through a very optimistic framework. We're doing that through a very worldly, how can we help the world? How might we make a big difference in the lives of others mentality? I think we're going in much different directions here, but I love it. So help me get centered again.
No. It's interesting because one of the things that has been in my mind lately, it's about, all these questions about, best version of yourself and, success or whatever. We have all these definitions where, pretty much all adults aspire to do something or be something, right? And that's where motivation comes from to do those things or achieve them, whatever it is. But the more I think about it, because I'm like that as well, is, why are all these things motivated by other perception, right?
Yes.
Like the world, the kids, the community, that, which is okay. And I know it comes from a good place. However, your experience of life as a human being, it's internal. You're the one witnessing the world. The world, it is what it is. Probably if one of us was not born, the world is going to be the same, exactly the same. So I think about what is the thing that does not take into consideration others.
Absolutely, 100% others, yes. And if you go even deeper into that, it's not just the best version of me, it's how I show up in the world so I can serve the world. I mean, we as humans, as Homo sapiens, are emotional, people-driven creatures. There's a lot of research out there that would say that when you are more connected with others, you live longer. There's less depression. We are happier when we are connected with others in a positive way. So how do we do that? And I love your point around it. That it's not just about me. It's about me and how I'm connected to you, other people in my life. How I view the lens by which I view the world is incredibly important for us as social animals. So how might I offer the best version of myself, the most energy, positivity, love, empathy? How might I offer that to the world in a way that they can feel that and then they spread that? And that's part of my mission in my life, is to offer that to people. So you went back to a question you asked like a long time ago of, why do people trust you? How do you build that? It's because they sense and they feel. When you can look someone in the eye and you can be authentic and share this with them, whatever your this is, they will sense that intuitively, naturally. And they can sense that about me, that I genuinely care about. It's not just about me or my agenda or the dollar or that selfish interest. It's to genuinely impact people in the world around me. Yeah. And what happens when all of us feel that way? When all of us let go of this ego, let go of the things that bind us, and we reach out and help others do it? It's going to be an amazing place. And I believe that we can get there as a society. But we need more people like us to step up and spread that good word. I feel like I'm preaching now all of a sudden. Let's spread the good word of optimism, positivity, and help others. But it starts with whatever platform we're on. Yeah. Whether we're architects, we're in construction, we're in real estate, whether we're business coaches, it starts with us getting good inside here, our inner, and then projecting that outwards.
The Power of Design podcast is brought to you by OSA Studio, a multidisciplinary design firm focused on creating impactful experiences through the power of design. We partner with our clients to create buildings, interior spaces, brands, and strategies that help you deliver a successful project. As a minority-owned firm, we are committed to building a diverse platform of curious and driven design professionals so we can together pursue our full potential. For more information, please visit us at www.osastudio.com.
So what do you think are like 2 or 3 easy things people can do just to go to a different level? Because to be able to engage a coach or pay a coach, that you need some kind of, decent income, disposable income, because it's not like completely necessary, which I think it is, but not everybody has the ability to pay. And I believe you can pay, anything you pay for a good coach is going to be cheap because the value is going to come back 100 times. But what are things that people can do easily that, hey, if you do these 1, 2, 3 things, immediately you're going to go to the next level?
Well, that's a great question. I can tell you the answer. And it's incredibly easy. And it's hiding in plain sight. And anyone can do it. And everyone knows it. And how many people actually do it, though? Here's a place to start.
Yeah.
read for 10 minutes a day. Or, as General McCraven would say in his University of Texas speech to the graduates, make your bed each morning.
Yeah.
That translates to just get a small win first. Start your day by getting some wins under your belt. Start the day by, I look at the day, and the first thing I do, I get up in the morning, I go downstairs, I chug a 24 ounces of water so I can get rehydrated really quick. And then I write down my 3 big wins. And I write down, how did I do yesterday? Then I write down this question. At least this is what I wrote down this morning. Who must I show up as today for Julie to say, Matt, you're a great listener today? And then I write down 3 things I'm going to do to be a great husband. Right?
Yeah.
All right. And then after that, today, I wrote down 29 days until my podcast begins getting officially promoted on social media. So what are the 2 things I'm going to do today around my podcast? All of this journaling to start the day, this took me 9 minutes.
Yeah.
So you ask, how do you get started? If you don't have a coach, how do you get started? Make a daily plan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that sounds so easy. And so many people, they wake up every day. What's the first thing they do? They wake up, they put their clothes on, they rush to a shower. Well, probably they shower first. Then they put their clothes on, they run downstairs, get their coffee, out the door, go to work, stress all day or push it all day while you're looking at social media, while you're thinking about this and that. And then you get home, and whatever's left over in the tank, you give 20% of yourself to your family, then go throw the boob tube on, have a beer, and go to sleep while you're eating junk food on the couch. That's where many of us are. And I don't say that from a judgmental place. Sure. I've been there, and I love everyone that does that, because I love people in general. I just say this, that if what you're seeking is the best version of yourself, and the best version of yourself in your mind's eye is someone, a man or woman or whoever, that achieves some level of success, you define success, then what is your method for achieving that? And we started with the question of how might someone get started on a method for achieving success or having their best day or being the best version of themselves. Then I would offer, start by reading something interesting 10 minutes a day. Start by making a plan every day. Start as simple as, what's one thing I might do every single day that when I do it over and over again will lead me in the right direction. Yeah. Now, it takes me back to a quote that I read when Tony Robbins was interviewing Nelson Mandela after he got out of prison, Robben Island prison in South Africa for 27 years. He asked him, how did he survive all that time? And something around the effect of Nelson said, I didn't just survive. I didn't just get by. I was preparing.
Yes.
And the question is, what are you preparing for? Okay, so let's go down the rabbit hole a little bit deeper. What are you preparing for? Ask your listener, what are you preparing for? And many of us are so into the day-to-day, we're not able to look back and ask ourselves, who do I really want to become? Or to achieve this goal or this success in a year or 5 years from now, what's the best action I can do today to help me get there?
Wow.
Right? So those are a couple of answers. And these are just tangible actions that you might be able to take, like physical strategies that you can do, whether you're journaling, whether you're going in and telling someone once a day, make someone smile. Right? These are like physical strategies. Let's go the other direction. The other direction is, what can you do to work on your inner every day, to work on yourself and your own mental game every day, under the waterline, like the self-confidence. And it's much the same thing. You can read about people who have that. You can model success from those who have what you want or who you might want to be. So there are many different areas and angles you can pursue, but all of them have one common ingredient. You're taking some kind of action every single day in a positive direction.
Yeah.
So if there's anything a listener takes away from this, from a professional business coach, who is, I might add, one of the top couple of percent in the world of business coaches. I don't say that braggadociously. I say it from the results. And I would say this, that it is, you have to take some kind of action in a direction towards what you want most.
Yep. So, as you talk about all those things, I think about there is the human experience happens bound by space and time, right? We're in a space and time dimension. That's where we live. And our brains perceive time. So with our brains, we recognize the present, like, okay, this is what's happening right now. This is who I am. However, our brains are thinking about a future, right? So in our minds, we always have a better future in our mind for ourselves, for our family, for everybody.
Yes.
So once you create that future, immediately there is a gap between the present and the future.
Yes.
So one of the books that changed my life was the Word of Art by Steven Pressfield.
Yes.
When he talks about the resistance. So the resistance is the space in between the life we live and the unlived life within us. The space in between who we are and who can we potentially be. So to me, coaching is, how do I close that gap?
Absolutely.
So there is no gap.
Yes. I'm so glad you're teeing this up right now. You couldn't have made me happier to say this. So 2 thoughts to this. I've read The War of Art, and it's phenomenal. And the other book he wrote is also phenomenal. That's Turning Pro.
Yeah.
So thinking about The War of Art and the resistance, we all have the resistance, that part in us that says procrastinate or you can't do it. It's that big gap. So I'm 100% with you. How do we overcome that? Well, I will point to another book that taught me a valuable lesson. A book from a strategic coach, Dan Sullivan, called The Gap and the Gain. And many people focus on what it is that they've not achieved. And because we're so self-critical, it makes us feel bad. It makes us feel depressed. It makes us think that we're missing something. And this leads to a lot of abnormalities and frailties and challenges in our body that it manifests in illness. And there's another person who focuses on the gain. They look backwards and they say, from this point until now, here are all the things I've actually accomplished. And not from a prideful place, but from a place of gratitude. I have succeeded to this point. Now I move forward with gratitude. So if you look at the gap and the gain, the gap is the place where you feel you're not any good or you're really self-critical. And the gain is the place where you look at, here is where I have done something. And I would point clients, point myself, point my family back to be grateful for what you have done. Okay, now that I've said that, let's go back to the resistance. So the resistance is everything in us that tells us we can't do it. It's the self-negativity, fear, rejection, all that stuff coming at us, the resistance. This comes up on a lot of coaching calls. So how do we overcome that resistance? 2 things, and here's another place to take a note, team. Gratitude and abundant curiosity are your remedies for the resistance. Gratitude in that everything you've done up until this point has helped you get to where you are. You've learned an incredible amount to get here. You overcome incredible odds just to be here right now today. I mean, we could go far back into the abyss of when there are trillions of sperm cells that are going around trying to get to the egg, and that's just one of a trillion that made it to the egg. So we already won there. And now we made it to this age in life where the odds are not great that we'd do that. So we've already won to get to here. So look at that and be grateful for everything that we've done. Be grateful for every experience that's happened, no matter how you might call it good or bad it's been. Be grateful for all that's led us to this point, number 1. And then number 2, moving forward, that resistance, let's approach that resistance with an abundant curiosity of how that resistance can help us improve our lives, can help us overcome our greatest challenges, can help us learn the next thing. Because when we go after that uncomfortable feeling, when we go after that resistance with a passion, with a fervor that is just relentless, that is how we break through that next level. That's how we find that best version of ourselves, is going through the resistance with abundant curiosity. Yeah. So one thing I would arm, and I'm an arms dealer, granted, yes. I will arm our listeners with this question. And this kind of gets to the genesis again, or the basis of our coaching, is what questions are going on inside of your brain all the time? right? When you approach a situation, what questions? Well, I was trained by an organization and a dear friend of mine, John Berghoff, and the exchange community, which I would love to highlight here. And the exchange community, we talk about appreciative inquiry, which is how we are able to appreciate the things that are coming forward towards us. And we appreciate those things by asking questions to start with, how might we? How might we? So I'm looking at every situation that comes at me. How might I learn from that? How about I use this to my advantage? How might I take this situation between CEO, executive assistant, Salesforce, CFO? How might I take this, combine all these collective strengths, and put forth the best possible output from this organization? How might we? So that's a great question. I use it in every coaching call. Any of my clients that ever listen to this, and I'm sure a bunch of them will, they will hear this. They'll be like, oh yeah, we've been doing that. Yeah, how might we? That's a question that offers unlimited potential. So a quick pause. I forget what you actually said in the beginning here. I don't even know what dimension we've gone into.
Well,
but how might we is where we are now.
I'm going to bring you back to that. So we were talking about the gap, right? So how we all are creating this version of ourselves in the future, and sometimes it's negative, sometimes it's positive. If it's negative, you're going to be anxious and frustrated. If it's positive, you're going to be motivated. But there is this gap that happens in, every human's brain. Wouldn't the solution be not to have a gap? So I'm not creating a future that it doesn't exist anyway. So I'm making it up. I'm just leave the present and there is no gap. Wouldn't that be the best version of somebody?
I don't deal in ultimatums, so I'm not going to say no. I will say that that's not the way that I believe it, because one of my visions and guiding values is vision, is optimism, is move forward, make progress, not perfection. Yeah. So that is one way to do it. And someone could live a totally happy, peaceful life doing that. That's their choice. Yes. But rather than use that as my doctrine, I would challenge people. I'm going to go back and quote Tony Robbins again, where a lot of our coaching might come from, and talk about once people's basic needs are met, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs are met, you got food, you got shelter, clothing, then what people really desire is two things. Number one, they want to feel appreciated, valued, or heard, right? So feel valued. Number two is progress. And in order for people to feel those things, there needs to be something they're aiming for. And in order to aim for something, we've got to go even deeper and say, what is it that I want? So it's back to our original question is, what do I want? What does a picture of success or what I want look like in the future? What are the challenges that I might need to overcome that might slow me down to get there? And the clearer we get on those things, the coaching process can begin and go forward, and it can help and serve anyone who wants that. So people can pay for coaching, and they can have a professional coach come in and guide them and help them on that. They can even do it on their own by, starting and reading 10 minutes a day, modeling other people who have what they want and seeing what they do. It comes back to the question I would pose to the listener. No matter what role they're in, no matter if they're an architect, construction, real estate, or business owner, leader, employee, whoever, I'd ask the question of, how might I master my learning so that I can have what I want?
How guarantees that you're going to get what you want? And how important is to get what you want? Because my point is, there are no guarantees. So to me, the journey of pursuing, it's more important than what you're actually pursuing.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I love
because
the journey.
You have control. You have control over the pursuit. You don't have control over the achievement.
You have control over the actions. You have control over your attitude and your effort. Yes. Do you have control over the end result? Not necessarily. We may think we do. But we actually don't. We can do things that put us in a statistical place where we'll have a greater chance of getting there. But what happens if we don't ever get there?
Sure.
As you said, let's enjoy the journey. Let's have an abundant curiosity on the journey. Let's love the journey. Every part of it, the part that's awesome, where we give high fives and we celebrate and we cheer, we win awards, we make money, we feel loved, and even the parts that are painful, where we lose someone or our business goes under. Every single one of those things has a valuable lesson to teach us. And when we're curious towards it, we can find joy even in those most challenging moments because they're here to teach us something.
I know.
I know you do. I know you do. I've heard your
You know,
story. I
yeah.
know where you came from and how you got here by working your tail off. I know how much you love your family. I've seen it, and that's why I'm a big fan of the podcast. Because I've seen your authenticity show up in a number of ways, and yeah, I know. I'm here. I'm with you.
Man, no, this is exciting. So one of the things I want to talk about is, you're here in Charlotte. This is your context. Are most of your clients here? Do you work with clients somewhere else? How can people can learn about you? I love to learn more about your podcast. Tell me about your connection with the business world.
Well, thank you for asking. And yes, I'd love to talk about me and a couple thoughts. First, clients, they're all over the place. I'd say that if you look across the country, they're all the major cities and some not so major cities, New York, LA, San Fran, Chicago, Miami. So they're all over the place. And then there's some here in Charlotte too. I'd love to have more clients here in Charlotte for me and for my coaching company. Mm-hmm. We have 78 coaches across the country. Only a few of us live here locally in Charlotte. But where do we find them? We work with, I'd say, about a third, financial services in some way, a third corporate real estate, and then a mix of big tech, retail, and entrepreneurial businesses. I work in the banking industry here locally and around the Southeast. So there are a number of different industries that we're in. How did we get there? Well, we got there through word of mouth. We got there through, as of the last few months at least, we've gotten there through aggressive social media advertising. We have a coach now that does that for us full time that can help business owners take their game to the next level in marketing. So those are some of the methods we've used. But as far as what we do, did you ask that question, by the way? What we did? You asked where we do the coaching.
Yeah, what I want to know is how people can reach out to you. What do you do for them?
Yes. Well, so how they can reach us, they can go to our website, www.proadvisorcoach.com. And, from us meeting here today, people can see how to spell my name, and they can look me up on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram, Twitter, and even on TikTok recently, because I'm not that old. So those are ways you can find us. But I'd say that if someone's truly interested in taking their game to the next level, then reach out to me directly. Hit me up on LinkedIn or Facebook, and let's have a discussion. And what I'm going to ask are the same 3 questions to everyone every time I meet someone for the first time. Number 1, what matters most to you? Number 2, help me understand through your crystal ball what success might look like 1 year, 5 years down the road from now. And what do you think are the greatest challenges right now that are slowing you down or trying to stand in your way? And that'll be our introductory conversation. A way to find out more about me, I've shared some links, but I want to talk about the podcast for a moment. Yeah. In 29 days, on my birthday, on April 13th, I'll be starting the promotion of the podcast. My podcast will be the Eternal Optimist podcast. And our mission is to spread positive optimism to the world. And we're going to do that one conversation at a time. I'm going to take business leaders, family leaders, local community leaders, even just everyday people, and interview them and ask them about some of their greatest challenges and how they overcame those to inspire and help others who are overcoming some of those same challenges right now. One of the people that's agreed to be on my podcast is a friend of mine who's been on your podcast, Frank Wiseman. And he runs his own podcast, We Are Dead Men Talking. And he's got some great ideas on optimism and putting forth your best foot. So that's just one thing. And of course, I'll invite other people from the community. But if you want to be a guest in the podcast, you want to find out more, my website will go live on my birthday. And you'll see a lot of promotion coming out there because I'm going to be promoting it on social media and have my own marketing company going after it and promoting it. But the Eternal Optimist podcast, it's going to be a revolution of sorts.
That's awesome.
And positive thinking.
So do you have some episodes already recorded that you're ready to launch?
Or
What's your plan?
Yeah, we've got 14 episodes ready to go. When we do launch, we're going to launch 5 immediately. And then each week we'll launch a few more until we've got our first 20 episodes out. And then the plan right now, Remember, Bob Ross, Happy Little Accidents. The plan is to launch one episode a week, interviewing a guest, and one episode live, kind of freestyling it on YouTube, answering questions. So that's what's going to happen when we launch.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Are you going to do video or just audio?
Well, I've been told that I have a voice for, well, that's not true at all. I've not been told I have a face for radio or a voice for video.
Yeah, voice for video.
So we're going to be recording everything and putting it on YouTube so you can see the interview like we are here. And it'll be on Apple and Stitcher and Spotify and every place that we can put it out there. So,
nice.
Yeah.
So, this podcast is called The Power of Design, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I say design or the power of design, what comes to your mind?
I've been waiting to answer this because I hear all your guests answer it, and I love the power of design. And every day, I have an opportunity to design and execute in what I feel is my ideal life. I do that by writing down the questions that I want to guide me every day. And as a result of writing these down for the last going on 8 years now, writing down the questions every single morning of how I want to live my life, who I want to show up as, it has empowered me to design this life of optimism, this life where, as you said earlier, I'm finding joy in every moment. This is in this exact moment right now. I forget what time it is. I kind of forget where I'm at. I just love being here right now. And that's very intentional by design. So when you say the power of design, I believe wholeheartedly that everything can be designed when you know what questions are guiding you.
So what is design?
Design is the ability to create, co-create, to take the reality right here in front of us that we're living in right now.
Yeah.
And it's the ability to take that and create this amazing, awesome, wonderful future that's abundant in nature, that gives us anything we want, that fills our cup, fills our bucket every single day, and to know that we can do that just by making a choice to ask the right question in our mind and take the right action.
Yeah, I mean, that's spot on because, there is graphic design, there is web design, there is architectural design, there's industrial design, and they all do that. It's just the material is different. And, for me, when you talk about architectural design, what would you say architectural design is?
Architectural design. Well, in the professional meaning, the way I might understand an architect is they design the workspace, they design a building, they design a physical structure. In the case of architectural design of how I view it, I would view it as I'm the architect of my day. I'm the architect of the relationships that I have. And I have a design in my mind, and I work to execute and live that every day.
Look at how I see architectural design, and that transfers to all the other designs definition. Architecture, it's built space for humans, right? So when you look at the most basic definition of architecture, will be a cave, right? There's a human, they need shelter, they go in a cave, right? So architecture is a human perception of space. Architecture is void space. We as humans, we don't experience solids, we experience voids. So when you talk about when I talk about architecture, and this is something a lot of people, when I talk about this, they're like, you're crazy, but I really believe in this. Architecture is the negative, is the empty space. So when I'm designing a building, the architecture are not the walls, the ceiling, the floors. No, the architecture is the space, is the empty space. The built environment defines the space, right? It gives it definition, space, shape, lighting, textures. So a human can experience that empty space. That is architecture.
Okay.
The architecture is the void in between. So when you're a person and you're out in a jungle, right? You're up in the open sky, space. Everything is a space. Remember, we're bound by space and time. Architecture is the human trying to define space, give it some definition because it's limitless, to fit their needs. What are their needs? Functions. I need shelter. I need a home. I need an office. I need a hospital. I need these spaces to fit a function that I need. The most beautiful architecture is the most beautiful resolution of that problem. So the space is fulfilling a need, but it also can be beautiful. So I'm satisfying my brain, but I'm satisfying my heart. I feel amazing with this space. It provides everything that I need, and I feel good about it. I'm enjoying this space. So when you look at that definition of design, I really think what we see and perceive is not the design. The design is what you get out of providing those constraints.
That was so beautifully described. You went so deep there, and that was beautiful. And whoever's hearing this, you are the architect who should help design spaces. That was amazing.
But when you said that you're designing your life,
yes,
that's not what you're designing. Is not what you want. Is the result of what you design. Is what's around it. Is the void. Is the space. Is the margin. So I'm disciplined not because I want to be disciplined and fill out my calendar. I don't care about that. I'm disciplined because that gives me freedom to spend time with my family.
Yes.
Right? So the byproduct is what we really want. So that's one of the things in just basic sales. We're trying to sell the thing. People don't want the thing. They want what the thing can do for you.
Absolutely.
But we sell the thing.
I know.
Yes.
Right?
We need to say, you do this so you can do this and you can do that. I see design, when I'm selling design services, I see it as money. Like if I give you money, you don't want money. What you want is what you can do with that money.
Absolutely.
Right? If I'm designing a building, they don't want a building. What they want is an office for their employees so they're happy and you make money. If you want a house, you don't want a house. You want a happy family to enjoy their life, right? So that to me, it's a huge breakdown and differentiation that I have with other designers because they're focusing about the thing, right? So one of the biggest complaints of people with designers and architects is that they fall in love with their designs and it becomes their own agenda. It's not my design, it's your design, you're the client, you're paying for it. It's your thing.
Absolutely.
So there is an emotional attachment cycle that happens when you're designing because I want to be emotionally attached to my creation, but at some point I need to let it go because it's for you. It's for your goals. It's for your house, for your hospital, for your office. I don't care what it is. How do I become a catalyst for your vision to become what you want it to be? So that's where design to me, it's such an important step to something, but it's not the end.
I feel what you just said to me, I've heard in a different lens and different words when Simon Sinek was given that great talk on TED about how great leaders inspire action. People buy why you do things. They don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. I feel you just said that from your words, and I love that you said that. And yes, that is the way, in my mind, as a recovering perfectionist, that it should be done, is we should start with what it creates, not what it is, how it makes us feel, what it offers us, just not what it is in the physical sense, but what it does for us. So absolutely love it. Thank you for that on design.
No, man.
That was amazing.
Yeah, that's the power of design.
Absolutely. That was a wow moment right there. A light bulb went off. That was awesome.
Awesome. Well, Matt, anything else you want to share? You know, I'm running out of questions.
Certainly.
Well,
certainly. Well, how much more time do we have? That's like another hour.
You can
right
go
there.
as much as you want.
Anything else to share? Well, I'd share this, that whoever out there is hearing this, whatever frame you're in right now, whatever role you're in right now, my message to you is that you can do it. You most certainly can do it. There is a way. And that way may be challenging. That way may have pain. It may have obstacle. It may have great physical, mental, spiritual barrier for you to overcome. And you can still do it. As you started and said earlier today, at some point, you said that people they overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in a lifetime or something of that nature. And yes, I firmly believe in that. Get started today in taking that action and look at yourself over intervals of time and appreciate and admire that progress, because you can do it. Anyone out there, wherever you're at, you can do it. You simply need to start now.
And I will add something that I work on myself every day. You deserve it.
Absolutely. You deserve it.
You deserve it.
Give yourself a little grace.
Yeah.
You've been through a lot. This is not an excuse. I'm not giving you a chance here to bail out, use it as an excuse or an umbrella to escape. But you do deserve it. You have been through a lot. You do deserve it. You've got to keep going. You got to take it on the chin sometimes. You have to take the wins and the losses, but keep going. You can do it. It's all a matter of how you're designing, this incredible future.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Matt, thank you so much for your time today. I learned a lot. I'm very excited and happy to get to talk to you, and I look forward to stay in touch and see what the future has for us together.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure, Jack, and I look forward to the 4 a.m. wake-up call, because if you don't know out there, Jack gets up at 4 and starts crushing it every day. There's no excuses in this man. He gets up every day early and does great things. So thank you for the invitation, Jack. It's been an honor.
Thanks. Thank you for listening to the Power of Design podcast. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review if you like this content. And find us online at thepowerofdesignpodcast.com. I invite you to join my mission to become a better version of yourself through the power of design.